Welcome to Colombia!
And welcome to Thrillsandfollies, my attempt at exploring the world and uncovering its top adventure destinations. And I don't mean those overcrowded touristy places that have been Instagrammed to death. I'm here to take you on a journey outside of comfort zones and pretty food, and to show you a more exciting side of Colombia for those who prefer a more thrilling holiday. First stop, Suesca, the home of rock climbing in Colombia, thanks to this amazing cliff face along an old train line.
Welcome to Suesca! This place is famous as Colombia's birthplace for rock climbing, so you can imagine what I'm here to do. But I've actually got an exciting couple of days ahead of me with a few activities booked. I'm really looking forward to this. Suesca!
There is a lot of climbing to be had here, but don't just take my word for it.
Suesca is an amazing rock climbing park.
This is Diana Romero, my climbing guide for the day with years of Suesca climbing experience.
It has around 2 kilometers of cliffs, with around 600 routes, so there is always a variety. Suesca is an old park, the history, they started in the 50s with this guy Erwin Krause coming for training for going to the Sierra Nevada del Cocuy, and he opened some of the oldest, most classical routes. And I can say that climbing in Suesca can give you the opportunity to create a lot of mental strength and can give you a lot of tools to climb almost anywhere in the world.
After warming up on the top ropes, we headed over to the main climb of the day, a 70-meter tall multi-pitch climb using traditional climbing methods. Now, trad climbing, for those that don't know, is where you carry all of this metal stuff up the rock with you and wedge them into cracks to secure your rope. And I've got to say, out of all of the adventure activities I do, trad climbing gets my heart racing the most. Diana took the first leg, making her way up and placing the gear whilst I belayed her. I later found out that she had free soloed this route before without gear, so it was clearly just for me. Then it was my turn to make my way up and removing the gear she had placed along the way. It's such a great feeling, climbing up a cliff, perching yourself on the edge and looking down at your accomplishment, feeling totally in control of your own fate. But the climb wasn't over, because it was now my turn to lead, taking the gear and the rope with me up the final pitch of the day and to top out at the end. It's a whole other feeling when you lead, knowing the rope is beneath you, trusting that you've wedged those metal things into the rock correctly in case you fall. Your heart races, knowing the only way off this cliff is now up, and only up. It's all on you. It's a great feeling, an exciting one. And despite a very persistent bee where I wanted to place my hand, I had made it to the final hurdle, climbing over this edge with 70 meters of air beneath me. That was it! Success was mine, atop this awesome cliff face, my first day in Suesca, and I already felt like I was on top of the world. But that victory wasn't the end of my day. I was about to finally do something I had been waiting years to do.
I'm about to do something I've been wanting to do for a very long time. I'm jumping with a bungee off of that bridge. I've got to say, I'm a little bit nervous. I was told before coming here that the bungee has a max weight limit of 80 kilos, which isn't a lot. And before I left for Colombia, I was about 78, 79, and the food here is so good. I think I've overdone it a bit. So, fingers crossed, nothing snaps.
How do you feel it?
Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, let's do it. Vamos a contar. 3,
2, 1. I survived. The bungee didn't snap. That was so cool. That was such a thrill. So good, and it bounces around a few times. It's not just the one fall, you swing around. There was actually a branch that I kind of clipped, but whatever. Oh man, that was a lot of fun. So happy. I've been wanting to do that for so long.
I returned back that evening to this beautiful old hotel and took in the day's activities, knowing I needed to rest because Suesca wasn't done with me yet. After an adrenaline-packed first day, I was back to the cliffs on day 2 to climb them in a slightly different style. Via Ferrata, meaning iron path, is a way of climbing without ropes. Instead, you hook yourself onto a route of metal cables bolted into the rock face, and the rest is on you. At first, we had company from some cute local dogs, but eventually, when things got sketchy, they let us humans defy death on our own. Probably a good call. I love the freedom Via Ferrata offers. Graded on a scale from K1 to K6, this route is a comfortable K3, meaning with just a little climbing experience, you'll be fine. I had reached the top once again. It was a perfect day too. The temperature was just right and the vibe was chill. I had a lot of fun on this route thanks to Adventura Extrema Suesca, but it was now time to return to Bogota and continue the journey around Colombia, though there was one stop we needed to make along the way. The area of Tocancipa, just outside of Suesca, is known for paragliding, thanks to some great thermals you can catch. And of course, when I saw the adrenaline option, I wasn't going to pick anything else. It was amazing flying low past the trees and down the valley, catching the thermals back to the top and going again. We even had some birds circling around us and enjoying the ride too, or hoping we would crash for their lunch. Either way, it was pretty cool. Then it was time for the adrenaline option. Pulling down into a spiral, we descended fast, spinning towards the ground below. It was such a thrill to experience. If you get the chance, pick that option too. If you don't throw up, and even if you do, you'll have a great time.
That was insane. So much fun. I'm so glad I paid extra for that adrenaline option. Oh man.
Unfortunately, I couldn't fly around forever, and our time in Suesca had come to an end, so we boarded a bus to take us the rest of the way to the capital of Colombia, Bogota. Anywhere you want to fly to in Colombia, you have to go through Bogota first, but it was a perfect excuse to sample some of the history and culture through activities like this graffiti tour. Known as the graffiti capital of the world, you'll see some incredible works of art, and thanks to capital graffiti tours, we learned a lot about the stories and meaning behind them too. Now, our next destination would take us south, to the city of Neiva. We had come here to explore an incredible natural landscape, the Tatacoa Desert. Spanning 330 square kilometers, it was known as the Valley of Sorrows by the conquistadors. And to stay in the spirit of the place, we traversed it on horseback, taking in the scenery with each clop of the horse's hoof. I wish I had a couple of days here to explore the desert and camp out under the stars, but as beautiful as we had already found this place, Tatacoa wasn't done surprising us yet. After we had let the horses go to rest, our guide took us to one of the most surreal environments I had ever been in. Erosion had formed these spectacular features. Towering around us, I felt tiny in comparison and in awe of the wavy-like patterns we were in. This feeling stuck with me for the rest of the trip, that the world is full of places that remind you of how vast this planet is, and that feeling small in comparison is just an incentive to get out there and explore it more. After the desert the day before, we were excited to see what else Colombia would surprise us with next, and amazingly, just minutes in the other direction of Neiva, we were immersed into a whole other world. Just outside of Neiva, you were greeted by a stunning landscape, sandwiched in the middle of two forks of the Andes Mountains. And to get to our next destination, we hired a car to drive through it all. Though it wasn't long until the rainforest reminded us of its name, but it did make me very glad I wasn't on a motorbike this time like I was in Sri Lanka. When we finally got there, my Spanish failed me again because I didn't realise we had to pay for transport on top of the entry fee. But what was becoming a trend here, a local family stepped in and helped us out, sharing their ticket with us. It must be said, Colombians are some of the friendliest people I've ever met. And then, the goal was in sight. We had seen this all over social media and just had to give it a go. The world's longest rainbow slide. Rolling down the mountain for 200 meters, you're placed on an inflatable donut, and then just allow gravity to do the rest. Now, there's more that you can do here, but we had to beat the clock back to return the car. But the whole experience reminded me of why I travel. It's not always the destination. It was a long way to go for a relatively short activity. But the scenery we were in, the people we met, those memories are more vivid in my mind and make me grateful for every journey I take. Now, remember when I said Colombians are the friendliest? Well, our next flight was cancelled due to the weather and no one spoke enough English to explain it to us. But this amazing woman offered to speak on the phone and reschedule our flight for us, and whilst we waited, she even hosted us at her apartment. We were amazed and so thankful for her hospitality. She saved our trip because our next destination was the Caribbean coastline. That, of course, meant another trip to Bogota. This time we enjoyed a chocolate tour, savouring the cacao with every bite. Then a city bike tour, learning about the history of Bogota and exploring a massive fruit market. I've never eaten so much fruit in one go. And finally, we visited the famous Salt Cathedral, an incredible feat of human achievement on the ground. But eventually it was time for our flight north, and we weren't the only ones. It was cute to see that Colombians travel with their dogs so frequently that the airports even have special doggy toilets for them, fire hydrants included. Welcome to the Caribbean. Colombia is the only country in South America that is open to both the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean Sea, meaning when you want to enjoy that beautiful warm water, Colombia has you covered, and there's more than one way to get there. With the different elevations in Colombia, we had been hot and cold and hot again. So coming here, basking in the sun and enjoying the sea was exactly what was needed. And we even had a little show put on for us. But no trip to the Caribbean would be complete without visiting the magical world beneath the waves. I love diving into these alien worlds, floating beneath the rippling waves above me, light shining through. Everything seems to move in slow motion. It's a form of escapism from our usual reality on land that I get nowhere else. We were only a 10-minute boat ride outside of Santa Marta, but the life around us was amazing. Everywhere we looked there were fish and corals, and it felt great not having to wear a wetsuit as well.
First dive in the Caribbean Sea.
It was such a peaceful day, enjoying the simple flows of nature, and Santa Marta is a vibrant city, full of energy and joy, especially as we were nearing New Year's. But not too far from town, there was a whole other kind of adventure waiting for us. Motorbikes provide a complete sense of freedom that this environment amplifies. Winding around these bumpy roads, snacking on local pastries and feeling like we could go anywhere we wanted. That is the feeling I chase. That freedom that propels me to travel the world. That to me is living. And of course, throwing in a waterfall just tops it all off. When we had our fun at the waterfall, our guide took us to this hostel in the mountains for some delicious food and to take it all in. There are so many ways to travel the world, so many styles to sink into. For me, I prefer to forego the comforts and the all-inclusives, to get out there and embrace the challenges I stumble upon. Because I find that true adventures, the memorable ones, only begin when things don't go according to plan. And Colombia has a way of highlighting that, of captivating your senses and immersing you within, and we were about to find out just how true that statement was. Tayrona, a national park about an hour outside of Santa Marta and home to its own unique climate, as we were about to find out. The day started at our hostel near the Calabazo entrance, trickier to get to the beach but less people than the main El Zeno entrance. Now, you can hike the whole thing or you can cut the journey in half by taking a motorbike up the mountain. We opted for the bike, but it wasn't long until our fortunes changed and the weather made our day very difficult.
Well, that was something. These roads are nuts. Everything got wet. When it rains in the rainforest, it rains. Jeez. And now we've got another 2 hours in this rain just to get to the beach.
Despite the torrential rain and the mud, I actually found powering through it all quite fun. Jumping over paths now turned into rivers, the cacophony of the rain and whistling trees in the wind, slipping all over the place, my very soggy feet. It was a challenge I wasn't expecting, and those memories stick with me more than when everything is perfect.
This rain is insane.
Our destination through the jungle was the beach of Cabo San Juan,
Looks like the rain has died down now, just a little bit.
and things were finally looking up.
Feels good to be finally out of those wet, slucky shoes. It's not quite the Caribbean paradise, but just good to be by the sea. It's so warm.
It took us over 2 hours to reach the coast, but we had finally made it. But there was a slight problem.
Turns out, it's something we forgot about. This is a nudist beach, so we're heading to the adjacent one, through the forest.
Yep, turns out we had taken the wrong turn and ended up on a nudist beach. But not an issue. This coastline is all connected with paths that allowed us to continue our loop around. This time though, I wasn't going to wear those soggy shoes. And it wasn't long until we were on another beach.
Okay, I have to admit, this place is pretty incredible. I can see why it's so famous. But unfortunately, we got here on a pretty bad day. The waves are bad, wind is heavy, but oh well, you can't win them all. Still a really incredible place.
It was great to have finally made it to Cabo San Juan, but we had a long road still ahead of us. With little chance of a swim and the light fading, we decided to push on to the main entrance of the park and head back.
And the muddy jungle fun continues.
This part of the walk is more built up than what we had endured in the mountains. There were wooden pathways to take us off the mud, and you can even hire horses. But then, and to our great relief, we finally got a chance to wash off all of that mud and sweat.
Finally! Swimming in the Caribbean Sea. Ah, it's about time. Today's been intense. So much fun. So much mud, so much rain. Just all of it. It's just been... loved it.
It was still a long walk back, but our time hiking here was so much fun. Jumping over obstacles and enduring the weather, I wouldn't have had it any other way. Our time in Tayrona had come to an end. There's still more to do here, but I'll leave that for another video. For now though, it was back to Santa Marta, and to close out the year and our time in Colombia with fireworks and celebrations.
Happy New Year! Colombia, unbelievable. I don't often talk about the people and the culture in these videos, but I have to make an exception for Colombia. Ever since we've been here, it's been amazing. People have been so generous. Mi español es muy malo. My Spanish is very bad, but everybody has been so incredibly patient with us. I have to admit, I had preconceptions prior to traveling, reading about things to be careful about, all the common sense stuff like don't go into certain neighborhoods at night. We have been reassured that it is important to listen to that advice. But in my experience, everybody we've met so far has just been of some of the best people in the world that we've ever met. The most friendly, the most kind, welcoming, patient, and I've just had a blast because of it. This has been an incredible trip. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and tell a friend. It really goes a long way into helping me bring you more of these kind of videos. But wow, Colombia, incredible.
And if warm winter destinations are your thing, then check out this video about Sri Lanka. Or if you prefer a winter wonderland after all, then Tromso might be more up your street.